Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to all. I was going to post this video up for a long time, and by long time I mean 2012, but that didn't happen. So I decided that this year I should be able to do something along the lines with doing my top 10 best and worst. So this is what it's going to be. But I decided to do 13 for each side, although pushing it for top 13 best films this year was pushing it, considering there were really only 12 films I saw this year that I would consider to be great. But I'll throw in number 13 as my favorite choice in terms of runner-up. But anyway, in regards to this, the top 13 worst will have a dishonorables mention list of those films that I have not seen, but probably would have ended up on the list had I gone and seen them. So to be fair, I really can't judge them on the merits of not seeing them. But they were probably really bad had I gone and seen them. So with that in mind, I guess I should start with the list of who's been naughty. And of course, checking it twice. The first one I did not see was A Million Ways to Die in the West. Seth MacFarlane was at one point a raunchy and, dare I say, clever comedy writer who knew how to combine politics, references, and shock humor at the right time. Looking back at Family Guy and Ted, there were high notes and low notes to what made me laugh and what flopped lifelessly for some attention. I was actually interested in seeing this, but as soon as I heard it was just as funny as Family Guy post-season 9, I skipped this one out. For that reason, and Sarah Silverman as being a, quote, quirky chuckle. Another one I refused to see was Ninja Turtles. 3 good reasons not to at that. 1. It's Michael Bay. 2. I was never a fan, nor will be anytime soon, of this franchise. 3. I spent enough money on the Transformers franchise, which I'll be talking about in a minute, to endorse another moronic and CGI-riddled mess of a nostalgic property. And considering that Hasbro has already sullied those 2 franchises alongside G.I. Joe and soon-to-be Gem and Holograms, it's no surprise that big money talks. And they were big and dumb then, they're still big and dumb now. Speaking of franchises I refuse to invest my time and patience on, I give you Hunger Games / Twilight Hybrid number 4. And to anyone that is actually a fan of this series that is about to complain to me how vastly different it is to either of those franchises, save your breath. I'm tired of YA adaptations trying so hard to make themselves epic and grandiose scale to a general audience. There was a time and place for that until it was single-handedly ruined by both Hollywood and the vacant-headed Stephenie Meyer. Divergent is just another product to be sold as a safe stepping stone to a mediocre series, kind of like Maze Runner. And if you know me best, I hate mediocrity. Even looking at the trailers for this was like eating China King rice on my stale piece of white Wonder Bread. Now on to the top 13 worst films of 2014. Number 13, 300 Rise of an Empire. It's kind of sad that Zack Snyder still thinks that an investment can be made on overdramatic set pieces the first one was. Look, I'll admit, the first one was pretty much the Chippendales war movie, but we weren't used to Snyder in his slow-mo yet. That technique has already worn its welcome years ago. Granted, this movie was fun for the first half hour, although I don't think this qualifies as entertainment when I'm falling asleep halfway through the movie. Except I do admit the only thing you could get out of this is Eva Green's maniacal performance. But man, it's a drag with how dumb and loud this movie was. Wasn't angry, just tired. Number 12, Exodus. Despite this movie getting slander for the whitewashing, I tried to put that out of mind and out of sight whenever the chance arose. Honestly, this was a doomed project from the get-go. No amount of visual and breathtaking splendor will be on par with performances from both the Ten Commandments and Prince of Egypt. And already beating the horse enough as it is, the Moses is one of the cornerstone scripts that has been done to death. It's far from the worst of all time, though it certainly took more time to sit through than needed to. Just read the good book, kiddies. There isn't anything to get out of here. Number 11, Transcendence. Sci-fi movies have an advantage of being engaging, well thought out, and looking into the human spirit. This was not one of those flicks. Nano Dip Jesus is as quick a summary I can make, because despite what the trailers made this film look, it stretched the script as thin as a rubber band. The cast looked like they were sleepwalking throughout the entire film, maybe due to loss of empathy. The 2 hours sitting through it felt like days. Really? How is it that we live in an age of advanced technology, and with this film, despite implicating interesting ideas of the creation out-evolving, if you will, the creator, it only gives us a direct question to us and plays it along like reading the manual for fixing your computer. Rise of an Empire was boring, but this was insomnia-inducing boredom. Like wanting to go to sleep early, but you've got an exam in the morning. It's just torture. Number 10, Paranormal Activity: The Marked Ones. Let's get one thing straight, people. Yes, I liked this franchise when it first came out. Yes, they are very silly, but the endings make either absolutely no sense or destroying what the film was trying to do, and taking out the found footage quality and cinematography, it just amounts to being a haunted house ride. It's a split reaction I'll get out of this, but I didn't mind them up until the fourth one where it completely shit the bed. However, watching this one made me realize and think, could I have been wrong this whole time? How that this parody solidifies the fact that these movies might not have been the good in the first place? Yeah, probably. Still, this wasn't the worst. The honor still goes to the fourth installment, whenever they make Paranormal Activity 6 a reality, and it will. But in regards to watching this movie, it's really a better horror parody than any of the scary movies. Number 9, Dracula Untold. This movie can kiss my ass. Historical inaccuracy aside, this is just as bad of a telling of a classic monster movie since 2010's Wolfman. I can only wish Luke Evans gets a better agent because his acting was the only saving grace I can give this turd ball. Apparently Universal decided that since it doesn't have any rights to superheroes, why not do a Monster Mash franchise? I'll tell you why. You get a PG-13 neutered adaptation of one of the bloodiest villains in both cinema and history. So for what it's worth, you get censored black goop for blood, no sex scenes, a cartoonish villain played by Dominic Cooper, and a giant fist made out of bats. There's more melodrama out of this film than an Anne Rice book. Number 8, Annabelle. James Wan and me I could have passed off as a fluke for making Saw and Insidious, but last year he gave us Conjuring, and that did take me by surprise. But then again, last year he also gave us the cash grab Insidious 2. To be fair, this one's not directed by him, though why do we need a spin-off of a story about a doll? Don't we already enough of that for Child's Play? And it's a real shame since James Wan didn't involve himself more than a producer in this one. It could have been the horror movie of the year. Instead, it's like I said about the Paranormal Activity movies, it's a haunted house ride with a beginning, middle, and an end, with no punch whatsoever. And what a waste in which we had Alfred Woodward in this. Number 7, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Yeah, you guys knew this was coming. Hell, even the fans of the comics were bewildered as to what was received on the screen. I'm not going to jump in the debate with which series was better, Garfield versus Maguire, whatever. As a film, as a story, it completely fails. The characters are underwritten and are not given enough time to develop. The plot transitions from one completely different scene to another, and it's jarring to understand why the film starts off as a spy thriller in an airplane. This movie pissed me off so badly as to what was done about the characters given to us, the lack of sympathy and surprise, and how cookie-cutter the ending turned into. Sony has still not learned its lesson from the Raimi trilogy. Less is more, guys, and Jesus, you guys dumped way too much lard into this Frankenstein monster of a script. Almost as bad as that time I ate an enchilada at Taco Bell, the last time I saw Tron Legacy. Number 6, Pompeii. Everybody dies. Is there anybody surprised by that? You shouldn't be. This whole movie is stocked with stock characters, stock CGI, stock plot, and stock marketing that have burst the stockings all over the fireplace. Which is where this movie belongs. Even if you are just sitting there waiting for the fireworks to go off, you have to sludge an hour and a half to get there, and by then you're regretting to even make that attempt. The only thing I hope this movie gets are YouTube clips of Kit Harington killing a horse by snapping its neck, and Kiefer Sutherland's abysmal British accent. But even then, that's giving way too much attention to this vapid disaster flick. If Dante's Peak didn't work, what makes you think that this one had a remote chance? Number 5, As Above, So Below. Paranormal Activity quickly became a joke over the course of each film, whereas this one completely loses its head with concept and camera work. And believe me, when I'm criticizing your found footage movie on quality and editing, that's not a good thing. Riddled with jump scares, shallow to non-written characters, leads to one of the most insane objectives I've heard in a horror movie. An archaeologist hunter who forces her friends to help her find the Philosopher's Stone. That's the plot, folks. A horror take on the first Harry Potter book, and an ending that made me have flashbacks to the devil inside. And dear Lord, that's a memory I wish to suppress, with lots of eggnog. Number 4, Maleficent. Disney is really screwing themselves over by doing the exact same process of making their original stories grimmer and darker in contrast to our generation now, when really, it's unneeded. The original films had a dark undertone, what with Flying Monkeys and Oz, or the insanity that is Alice in Wonderland, and much like the extreme makeover counterparts in this day and age, have made me drink my woes to what is considered the, quote, true story of what should be told. To the Hot Topic crowd listening to this piece of advice, your time has come. Congratulations. You have a cartoonish defacing of one of the most infamous animated villains of all time into a girl with a bad breakup that we've seen in Oz the Great and Powerful. Let's also not forget a death curse she inflicted on a baby, whom she has a change of heart over the years, and falls in love with her because it's Ellie Fanning. And there you go. It becomes a fan fiction, anti-hero love story using that basis of material from Sleeping Beauty. Truly, no one in the world is bad. They're just misunderstood. Just like Angelina Jolie's character development in this movie. Number 3, Need for Speed. Car porn is the only response I'll get out of this. I get it. It's a dumb action movie with loud and slick cars with a dash of Aaron Paul thrown in. There is not a short demand of these films though, guys. We already have the Fast and Furious franchise, which started off terrible and have become both parodies by embracing that trait with ludicrous situations and overarching stories. The story in this can be done in a short film of 15 minutes, not a 2.5-hour road trip. I have no idea why Michael Keaton is in this movie. Thought he embarrassed himself enough in that RoboCop remake this year. Whatever. What really sets me over the edge with this film, though, was the comedy. It reached levels that made me sigh heavily and breathe in exhaust fumes. Number 2, Transformers 4. Where do I begin with this monstrous clusterfuck? Michael Bay, to no surprise, has been lambasted by many for his arrogant style of filmmaking and egotistical sense of direction. After his comment of how haters are still going to see my movies, made me realize something. Yes, there will be people that will watch your movies, regardless of loathing them. This one drew the final line with me. I am done with this franchise and Bay. All I can remember out of this 3-hour static noise was there were robots, racism, misogyny, recycled plot and characters, annoying characters, and product placements and explosions. Put them in a blender and drink the concoction. What you will get is a power drive poison consisting of seeing an overgrown man-child turning a My Little Pony doll into a machine gun while laughing his ass off. That wasn't funny, and if its intent is to the audience, screw you, Bay. Worst off is how I should have walked out of the theater after that scene. It's like reading your own obituary. You just want to die, but the film keeps rolling, and every excruciating second just keeps getting worse. And the number 1 and worst movie of 2014 goes to I, Frankenstein. I would almost recommend this movie to how gloriously bad it is. I'm serious, it's the kind of movie that reconciles the fact of what made Underworld a bad joke down the line. That and the Twilight crowd. While it is sad to see names like Aaron Eckhart and Bill Nye attached to this shit stain, it's how bad they perform in this what the blue fresh hell it is. It's almost just as sickening to hear they plan not just a sequel, but a crossover with this movie and the Underworld series. It has some of the worst CGI, acting, production design, editing, cinematography, you name it, I've ever seen in my life. It even has the balls to even destroy the semblance of Mary Shelley's novel in the first 10 minutes, disconnecting it entirely with what it was trying to get at. And that is how you can instantly, on my rating system, get an F. There you have it. Top 13 worst films of this year. Stay tuned next time, in which I will go from naughty to nice and talk about the top 13 best movies of this year. Of course, I've got to do a TV package right now, and well, I don't really have a lot of time, so I gotta speed this up. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, I don't know. Whatever holiday you celebrate, whatever.